Thank you, Magic, and hi, welcome everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a great Chrissy and New Year's Eve and didn't get too Molly the monk, so to speak. Well, I know some did. Anyway, yeah, look, the QMS, you all know what it is. It's a direct democracy system designed for transparency and has built-in security. The idea is that we give the policy making decisions to the people rather than the politicians. We don't really need politicians. Politicians create and sell policy. We can do that ourselves as a collective, as a united front. I've been moving lately, so I do apologise. I haven't been on Facebook very much. I've been a little bit quiet. It's been a fairly big move, and for the last 3 weeks, I've just been absolutely constant with it. Yeah, so what I might do, I think it's going to be a bit of a quiet meeting tonight. We've got a lot of people away. Some of the influencers and organisers and people that work with us on the steering team aren't able to make it. Penny may or may not come in later. She's got her daughter's birthday tonight, so she's at that. So yeah, I'll pretty much open the floor up to any questions people have straight away. But just, I guess in a quick rundown, the QMS is a direct democracy system of for and by the people. We create and design our own policies. We hold a referendum style vote, either within a local area, which could be council, tribal. It could even be at a street level. It can go through to a national level or a state level. And obviously, we could make global decisions on it, but I'm not a globalist, and I don't believe that we all need to be, all exactly the same. I actually think that we all need to be different. We all need to be independent. I just saw Ryan come in. Ryan's been up in Canberra, so I'll say hi to Ryan in a sec and get him to have a chat about what's been going on. G'day, mate. How you going? Oh, he's still connecting to audio, so I'll ask him to unmute. Yeah, unmute yourself, Ryan, if you like. If you can. Can't hear you, mate. You're still on mute. Hang on.
Unmute.
That's better.
Hey, how are you, brother?
Hey, mate, how are you? Yes.
Yeah, too bad, mate.
That's good. I tried to give you a call earlier on. I know you've been away and you've been pretty busy lately.
It's been hectic to say the least, my friend.
I know the feeling. I try moving house over Christmas, 3-bedroom home with a full-grown German Shepherd and a 15-year-old that doesn't want to help. Who just wants to play Xbox. But yeah, how you been?
Yeah, flat out on the messenger and phone calls and everything after what's transpired this week. So yeah, it's been fun and games, man. Fun and games.
Did you want to give us an update on what you've been up to, it's up to you, mate.
Oh shit! I can't say. I can't. And I won't say too much. Everybody's seen what's happened on social media. My live stream got shared around the bloody world. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened up there that I wasn't even aware of at the time until it actually did happen, and probably sort of did get caught up in it a little bit. And I didn't leave Canberra for that reason. I left Canberra to come home and see my girls, and had a few personal things to sort out here in Melbourne. So, but I don't agree with what happened up there either. But what's done is done, and we've got to move forward from that. So how we move forward from that, it's more than one person to deal with. It's got to moved forward as a collective. But I think certain people that, as far as I'm concerned, were at fault, need to stand up and take responsibility for their own actions. That's my standing on it. So I don't agree with what happened, but what's done is done. The building itself, who gives a shit? It's just a satanic freaking building anyway, which represents freaking genocide. But yeah, there's a few people that need to actually own their own actions. If you want to go down that road and not tell anybody and hide the fact of what they're getting people involved in, they really need to take ownership for their actions, like I said.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I haven't been across it. I've been moving. I've had reports from Penny, and obviously Magic and Michelle have filled me in, and I've caught little bits and pieces when I've gone and watched the clips they've sent me. But to be honest, I've been that flat out with the move and trying to get through Christmas and deal with some personal things myself. It's been pretty full on for me. So you want to try moving over Christmas. I was actually moving on Christmas Day, so it's all your mates are away and you're doing it by yourself. It's a pretty heavy haul. So I had a few people come along. Magic and Michelle both done a fantastic job cleaning both the new place and the place I moved out of. And Ed Gilbert gave me a bit of a lift and then shot off up to Canberra to catch up with everyone. So I've had reports back from Ed as well. I spoke to him earlier on. Yeah, and look, we're not going to go into that. That's not my place. I'm not there. I'm not part of it. I am going to go to Canberra. I'm still hoping to, if I can get a bit of money coming in within the next couple of weeks. I plan to go in about 2 weeks' time and stay up there for a week or two.
Yeah.
But I'm going there to meet with the Indigenous elders to get the QMS to endorsed as a potential system of governance. So my reason is to go there, meet with them, show them what we've got, and hopefully gain their endorsement. That's all I'm really interested in at this stage. I recognise everything that has been going on as far as trying to help the Indigenous nations, and I recognise the fact that their history has been stolen from them and has been rewritten. And that their land that they are part of was stolen from them as well. And I mean, I see what's going on. I've known about it for a long time. I, as one man, can't do anything about it except, I guess, empathise and put my hand up to say that I stand in the truth with regard to what happened. But I too am born of this land, and I guess that's the big but. I feel that this is where I belong to, and I want to work together with every person in Australia to create a better future for us all. And yeah, burning old buildings. Look, I sort of disagree on that. That one actually does have some significance and it is a museum, and it does have a lot of artifacts in it, Indigenous artifacts, which I think would be important to the Indigenous people. There's a lot been going on lately that I've heard, but I haven't been directly across. So I'm sort of sitting back, waiting some of it out and doing my own thing and focusing on that. So this is an area I don't want to get political on it. I'm not going to go and name call or accuse people of anything. I've heard reports from all sides. Let's just say it shouldn't have happened, and that's all I've got to say. Like, and if you're going up there to get endorsements on things, to show your support for the Indigenous nations and to be part of trying to bring this country back to the people, then I'm right behind you. So, yeah. And I think some people went up there with that intent. A lot of people went with that intent. But I think from what I've seen, there's a bit of a rabble that appears in some of our events quite regularly, causing trouble, and that unfortunately reflects on everybody else and can bring people's names into question. So hence why I'm a little bit careful around the rallies and things like that too, because the integrity of the QMS to me is far more important than my own or anything else. But if I'm going to maintain its integrity, I've got to try to maintain mine at the same time. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But basically, at the end of the day, up there, there's a lot of conversations and a lot of opinions. Whether you're white, black, brindle, yellow, purple, it doesn't really matter. But especially in the blackfellow camps as well, like you get some that are, will throw the government out and everybody can get thrown on a boat and sent back overseas, back to England, sort of thing, or wherever the hell your ancestral roots come from. But a lot of people forget, it's 2021, for Christ's sake. It's a big, we're playing on an international stage here where some get it and some don't. Well, actually, very few get it and most don't. It'll never work that way. So the conversations I had up there with some very good friends of mine was, using national sovereignty, well, not using it, but defining national sovereignty to be able to hold the government to account. The government will always be there. You can't replace the government. You can't just go in and turn this and just hit the big circuit breaker and turn the switch over. It'll be total freaking anarchy. But at the moment, we're a lawless society. They're just basically making rules as they go. I had a really good chat with Penny earlier on today, where with national sovereignty, defining that at law, it actually gives a way through the First Nation folk to hold the government to account. The government will still be there, but we can actually hold them to account and get this country running right with truth and integrity. All the pedophile suppression orders, you release all those, the whole works and jerks, get all the court systems, flush them out. It's a lawful way of doing things on an international stage. But there's still a lot of conversations to go between now and then. There's a few guys up there that hold a lot of order, a lot of power, but they need the support behind them to really get it up there. But it's just a matter of weeding through all the bullshit. What happened the other day, as far as I'm concerned, that just puts a camp for me on the back burner. I won't support that camp at all. The fundraiser that I've got on my page, I completely changed that around. And so there's a GoFundMe page there if people want to donate money to help with the camps and all that sort of stuff. But it really shows a lot of true colours with a lot of people. And I don't care what colour they are, but you either stand in the truth with integrity or you don't. Plain and simple as that. So it's even if you get up there, Graham, mate, like you'll know Didge and stuff up there, but they can be quite difficult to crack. And especially for the older ones with the trauma and all that sort of stuff that they've been through. But once you do gain a level of respect, you can sit down and have a conversation nearly anywhere you want. It's a good environment up there. I was just on the phone to a fella up there just a minute ago. Like all the kids up there playing around. There's a whole area that's been cordoned off just for the kids with pools, and they're playing touch footy and they're having an absolute blast. All the girls are getting up in the morning and bloody doing what they do, whether they decide to get the breakfast and all that sort of stuff cranking, and the blokes, we're doing whatever we got to do, whether we're going up to Parliament House having a chat or building new kitchens and all the rest of it. So it's everybody chips in and gives it a good crack, and cooking or whatever.
I just wonder why they chose Old Government House rather than the current Government House as the meeting point, and I guess as the place to do this from.
Old Government House represents the first initial genocide on this continent, and the first level of fuckery, basically. Like, I've got a couple. I'll send you through the photos. The door handles on those two doors. The left-hand side door handle had the lion and the unicorn crest on it. Right, the right-hand side door handle had the emu and the kangaroo crest on it, and the two door locks underneath, with the one underneath the lion and the unicorn, that lock was blanked off, and the one on the right-hand side was open. So that construct has been shut down and abandoned, so that when the Queen abandoned the post as head of state here in Australia, on this continent, and it represents where the current construct took over. It's like the symbology around there is unbelievable. There's even big signs on the wall. We go, the Museum of Australian Democracy. It's like, it's in your face that bad. It's ridiculous, but it's just a matter of getting people on the same wave. Like, I had a good chat with Ed while I was up there. Like, he was only up there for the one night, and at the time we had, because that was on the Thursday afternoon when he got there, I think Jackie Dundee was up there as well. I saw a bit of a change in her. I haven't had a lot of time for Jackie over the years, just for what she peddles. Ed's a freaking champion, and also had Stephen Limbry over there as well. He come over from Nowra. So Ed and Stephen Limbry had a big chat, and I was having a yarn with Ed, and he goes, "What do you reckon, Ryan?" I've gone, "Look, I'm not the best talker. I'm definitely not the best writer. I don't know the Constitution off the top of my head. I don't know quantum grammar. I don't know, what happened in Ireland and all the history and all that sort of stuff. But I looked at Ed, I said, but I know you're a good bloke. I know Stephen Limbry is a good bloke, and I know you're both very good at what you do. And my whole idea is getting guys like them, the blokes you can see truth and honour and integrity in, and getting more, even if Jackie Dundee's one of those. I still haven't, like I said, I haven't worked her out yet, but getting those people, the big, not big players, but the knowledgeable people around a table or on a Zoom, whatever it takes. Like Christ, we've all just travelled up to Canberra, it's 7 hours from here, and get them around and have a, whether it takes an hour or takes a week, and sit round and draw a game plan. Get all the very intellectual people with that stand in truth, and get them around and let's draw up a plan. That's my idea. And Ed put it out on social media today. He put out a live stream today, and exactly what we're talking about. Like it's the only way. And we got to stand in truth, honour, and integrity. We can't be deceitful with it. That's Absolutely. The biggest thing, and that's what happened on Thursday. The integrity was lost, and there was deceit there, which put a lot of people at risk. It has put people at risk. People were in jail last night. Like, I'm not going to divulge what happened here, but like it's not fucking right. Simple as that.
Yeah. No, I get it, mate. It's like, I understand where you're coming from. As I say, I had the report from Ed as well, and had a big, long chat to him, and I know what both of you are like, and both men of truth and integrity, and honour. And look, I understand, mate. I get it. So we can have a chat aside from this meeting later on, and you can fill me in on any details you like, and I can give you what I know. And so. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we need everybody. The Indigenous nations people need us. We need them, right? Not one of us can proceed without the other. And it's right down. We need everybody in Australia. We need as many as we can get. Now, I've actually been putting forth a plan for a while, which I've actually, and I'm going to tell people about it tonight, because I've sort of kept it out of these meetings, but it's a pretty simple plan. It does require a bit of money. We're talking between $5 and $10 million. It could go as high as 15. So we need somebody with deep pockets to fund it and pay for what we need. There is some marketing involved. But I've been doing a lot of polling, and the polling shows me that 99.9, and I would say 9998% of people, because I'm probably up to about 12,000 that I've spoken to just in general. And I don't talk to people within our movement. I assume people in our movement don't trust the government. So I go out and talk to people wearing masks. And when I'm in public places, even police officers and things like that, I don't care what their job is. I don't care what they do. I have one question: do you trust the government? And I put it to them just like that. The answer is invariably no. I've had 2 people say yes, and I wanted to ring the paddy wagon for them and get them sent off to some asylum because they obviously need help. You can't, but, I wanted to. If everybody doesn't trust the government, then the next question is, would you consider a new system that is fair, that is truly democratic, that is run of, for, and by the people, and reports directly to the public services with the results? Because it's the public services that run the country. Politicians make policy. If we take politicians out of it, we also take out corruption, we take out the graft and the theft and the lies and all the other bullshit that goes with politics and politicking. And we end up with just simply policy making, which we can do. And that's what the QMS is about. The QMS is there for us to make policies on. It's a device, it's a tool. It can be improved. It needs to be made more user-friendly, and I'd like to have it based in a local blockchain. But back to the plan, it's actually really easy. We only need to run a referendum in this country asking that question: do you trust the government? We need a prospectus explaining what the QMS is, and if there's other options in governance that people want to propose, we need to put that forth at the same time. And we hold a simple referendum. We use the movement to take, so that we're not seditious, we can't use the mail system. We use the movement. This is where everyone needs to unify, right? So we use the movement to take, basically, you know how they do the census? We can use the same format. So we can have a barcode on a document that we take out, which says to people, do you trust the government? No, yes, whatever. Would you consider an alternative system? And then we have the question, should it be the QMS? Should we have Nazism? Should we have communism? Should we have socialism? Direct democracies of other forms. We can do that very, very quickly and easily. We could just put the QMS on it as the only thing, but that's sort of, that's sort of hedging your bets there. But we can do that as a people. We just need to fund it, deliver it, pick it up a couple of days later in lockboxes, have sworn members go through the lockbox and actually do the count, and then that count can be gazetted. And if we get more than 51% of the country, at 1 million people, we cause the beginnings of a constitutional event. If we get 51% of people on board, we've actually created a full constitutional event in this country, and the government goes. The army actually has to remove them under their own constitution. So if we go down that path, it's actually a very, very quick and easy path to go, and it's peaceful, it's lawful. Now, normally a referendum's done through requesting the parliament to hold it for us, and it would be considered a citizens initiated referendum. They're not going to say yes because they'll lose their jobs, and they already know everybody hates them. They do the polls, they see what happens. So if we go down the path that people know what they're like at the very least, even if they don't want to be as extreme as saying they hate them, they distrust them is the point. So if we go down the path of running our own referendum, which I call a people's initiated one, which we self-fund, which we then hand deliver, which we pick up in a lockbox, which we have barcoded. When it's delivered, we ask how many voting age people are in each house. We scan the barcode. That's connected to the GPS on an app on the phone. Instantly, we know where each of the barcoded documents has been dropped. We ask our questions. We pick them up in a lockbox, in a sealed envelope, in a lockbox 3 days later, 2 days later. We have sworn officials through somebody like Wayne Glue, who actually are holding some form of integrity and have been vetted. And basically then, once they do the count and gazette the count, one or two things happens. We either win and the politicians are removed, or, and look, the win involves some letters going to the Queen, the Governor General, and to the government, basically telling them all we've held a referendum and they're gone. If they don't exit the positions and hand it back to the people immediately, then we can actually call on the army to step in on our behalf, quite lawfully. And the army has to under the Constitution. Wayne will explain all this. Wayne and I have actually spoken about this, and he likes this plan. And look, I wish Wayne was here to back me up on that, but Wayne and I have had numerous conversations, and many know Wayne's been part of the QMS on and off for quite a long time. He came into quite a lot of our early meetings. So we can use their own system, we can use their own constitution, and we can actually unhook from them and have a direct democracy. Whether it's a QMS, whether it's some other form of democracy, doesn't really matter as long as it's a direct democracy. So at the moment, I only know of the QMS here in Australia that's being promoted as such and as a way forward in this. I know that some politicians have come out with things where they've said we could have direct democracy where they run the country. That's not direct democracy, that's a dictatorship. And if you really think your vote can be trusted, when it goes back to a politician, well, I'm sorry, but anyone who wears the badge of politician, I don't trust. That equals liar. And somebody that's in it for the money and for the position. This is something that, if we succeed, I want to retire. I'm just going to walk away from everything. I'll disappear into the woodwork. I don't need the fame. I might put the occasional policy in and people might pay a little bit more attention to it because I helped get this started. But at the end of the day, it doesn't, that's not even that important to me. What's important is that we free ourselves. We get rid of these guys that are lying to us, these guys that take our money, these people that think they can do things to our children. These people who are telling us what we have to inject and how to live and when we can work and, whether or not we can attend a hospital or a movie or anything without showing some Nazi paperwork to them. I could tell you a story, but yeah, I might do it a little bit later on in the meeting about the scrap metal yard if somebody wants to hear that later. But gee, some of the things going on out there, they're just beyond a joke. And this is a free country. I want to make it free again. And the only way to do that is to get rid of these politicians that lie to us, that cheat. They use the media. The media, the idea of the QMS is we can actually keep the media accountable. We can see whether they're honest or not. It's simply a website. We go there, we review the timeline on the policy that was voted in. We look at the actual facts rather than what the media tells us. Alternative media is going to have a ball because it's all there right in front of them. And I think at the end of it, alternative media will probably outlive the commercial media that we've already had. So this is just the way. It's grassroots. We can step forward. We can have the referendum. The referendum, once gazetted, as I say, will cause a constitutional event. I have no doubt that we'll get more than 51% of Australians saying that they don't trust the government and they'd prefer a better system. What system they'd choose, that's something that we should talk about, obviously, amongst a lot of people before we go in and actually put the paperwork forward. And maybe that's something you'd like to weigh in on, Ken. I know that you've got a lot of great ideas and you're a very, very intelligent man. So I'd actually appreciate your input on that as well. And possibly Chad, Ryan and Ross, and obviously Michelle and Magic, if they want to, or anyone actually. I have no problem at all if anyone wants to chime in on it. But all we have to do is word the document right, do a prospectus on the QMS, present them at the same time to the people, collect it, count it properly with 3 officials at each site, and then gazette it. And if the army won't do it, the UN has to too, even though I'd hate to call them in. And I hope we wouldn't get to that stage. But with the numbers, if it's the people's will, which will have taken away from the Westminster system, we can have our direct democracy, we can have the QMS, and then we've got the Treasury, we can spend the money to redesign it and to actually really make it fully user-friendly, locally produced and completely secure. There's so much we can do. But yeah, it's getting the word out. It's marketing, which we need. It's a good prospectus, which we need. And then it's the unification of the movement, because we've got about 2 million in Australia. If everyone we've got 27 million here. So, I mean, if everybody became involved, and let's assume only 1 million do, it's only 27 houses for us each to visit, if you think of it that way. I mean, it's a little bit more because obviously some areas are more remote and all of that sort of thing, but we go visit their houses, we hand them a bit of paper, we pick it up 2 days later, we put it in a lockbox in an envelope, and then we count them. And it's that simple. We don't have to get their permission to do this. We just do it. Anyway, yeah, that's the plan, and it is a simple plan. Once it's done, yes, we need people to go in there and to do a forensic investigation of what's been done. We need forensic accountants. We need legal people to go in and be, everything needs to be dug into to the absolute extreme, so that we can undo all of the damage they've done, so we can know every bit of the truth, and so we can present it all. So there's a lot to be done, but from there, day one, the system wouldn't look any different. The people wouldn't notice anything other than all the politicians would probably be being rounded up, and that'd be all over the news about how the police were picking up the politicians, because under the new system, the politicians had basically committed treason. So, or international complicity to international genocide. There's a number of things that you could throw at them. So that's what your news is going to be probably for the first week if the QMS came into effect. And from that point forward, we would start to redesign the policies within the various systems that they've already got to better suit the people. And they're tested and measured. So if a policy is a severe concern, potentially deadly, or puts people at risk, you're going to put it on hold until you've done the testing and measuring, and until you've gone through the actual process of showing the people the truth, every single step of it. That's where the transparency comes in. And then we can make informed decisions based on what we've read and seen ourselves, and the information that's put out by proper experts who are being peer reviewed as they go, because there will be other experts watching them, have no doubt. These are volunteer experts. It costs us nothing to do this. It's just We can change our tax system. We can change our medical system, make it true healthcare. We can, education system. Where do you start? But that's what I'm calling for. People of those areas who want to make those changes to come forward now and to think about what they want to change. We can change our constitution, our legal system, the whole lot. It's so simple. But it's numbers, money, and I guess the right minds coming together to put forth a plan that can make this work. So anyway, that's pretty much the plan. Rather than ramble on and on and on about it, I'll open the floor up to any questions. We haven't had any other, I don't think any one other than Ryan, unless anyone else would like to say something, Michelle or Magic or anyone, Chad, anyone, Ken?
I'd like to say something, Graham. First of all, there is a lot of distractions going on out there, so just be very wary of what you buy into. So if anyone wants to know what was really going on up in Canberra, as Ryan said, Ed did do a live today and it's pretty good. So go have a look at that. But let's not get distracted with things in the media. So we know that, the Maxwell woman's been on trial. We know that Betty White died. Like, a lot of this stuff is going on and people are losing their minds on social media. We have to really stick to what's important, and that is that this is our year to give our country back to our people. Don't get distracted by the media, by what's going on, by any of that. White hats, black hats. Michelle and I have been at a few events in the past week, and everyone's talking about, this person's going to save us and this political party is going to save us. Let's just keep in mind this is a broken system and you cannot work within the broken system. So don't buy into people that want to put themselves on pedestals. Don't buy into agendas, and really look at even the so-called influencers. Look at what they're getting out of it. You have the power. You are the people. This is your country. So give it back to yourself. Don't put it in someone else's hands. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Magic. Sorry, I had a friend here and they just had to leave, so I was just seeing them off at the same time. That was rather timely. So thank you for that. And V's got her hand up if she'd like to unmute and come on in.
Actually, just some questions, just listening in what you've been talking about. I try not to get onto social media. It's pretty horrendous at the moment. One of the things that I've been interested in for a long time is in relation to the Indigenous, and where you're talking about going back to getting the Indigenous, like walking side by side with the Indigenous. And I think that's really important. And that's something that I've been looking at for the last 20 years. So it's not something that's new for me. It keeps coming up on my pathway. So although I wasn't even born in this country, on the other side, feel like I have a really deep connection to it. So I do feel that is really important, that the Indigenous people, that we work side by side with them, because I think some of probably not so much of what goes on today, but time has moved. But a lot of the family community structures are a good thing to have. But my question to you, Graham, is when you're talking about you going to Canberra and you're talking to elders, there's elders right across this entire planet, entire country, in different tribes or clans or whatever you like to call them. And I know in 2017, it was the first time where Indigenous from across the entire country came together at Uluru, and it was quite a momentous occasion because it had never been done. Well, not in white man's history anyway. They probably had a lot of get-togethers before we came on, but this was pretty big, and the majority of them really put out a joint statement with the message from the heart. My question is, how much connection with a lot of the communities across this country, because if we want to move forward in that direction, we can't do it without them. So how many have been coming on board with this, or this, you know, that you've been talking to or connecting with?
Probably it's hard to keep track of the amount of people that I've spoken to around it, but I would suggest probably between 15 and 20 elders that I've spoken to of various tribes so far in various states. Part of the reason that I want to go to Canberra is because there's opportunity up there to meet with some of the elders that are up there, but on the way, I'm actually planning to go via New South Wales and try to meet up with some elders. Penny's up in, I won't say where she is, but she's in New South Wales, and I was thinking of popping in and seeing the elders around there that she's been talking to. We've already got some of the Northern Territory guys, and it just depends on whether I can get the money up, how long it takes and all that sort of thing. And I don't ask for funding, so I self-fund everything in this. So, and I've had a bit of a rough time financially lately and having to move house and everything. It just depends on work and what happens over the next few weeks as to what I can actually do. But I'd like to also go to Brisbane and, if possible, the Northern Territory, and catch up with some of the people I've already met there and others if possible. I have spoken to a couple of Victorian elders. I'm working on getting... The hard part I have is that a lot of people don't get the QMS and the whole concept of the direct democracy and how it works from the outset. And look, anything political is always going to be fairly complex to explain clearly and completely to somebody without, you know, it's easy to lose people while you're trying to explain it to them. It's a simple I guess way of putting that. So I'm working on messaging. I'm also sort of, look, so far of the 15 to 20 that I have spoken to, I've had complete endorsement. Everyone's been quite happy. It hasn't been a very difficult sell, I guess, or thing to present. Everybody wants a change. Everybody wants out from under the corruption. And when you've got something that is grassroots, that holds integrity, is secure, has its, you know, it's the voice of the people, and there's nothing in it for me or the people working on it, just time. It's just energy and time that we put to it. So we don't just sort of, you know, we're not making any money, and we're not trying to. This is about freeing ourselves and our children and our people. And my people are all the people of Australia. And I know that the other people working on the QMS and bringing it forth are with me on that. The idea is that once this is handed over to the people, we'll step away. It'll run its own course from there. And we've presented something that hopefully can save the country and eventually maybe go worldwide, not as one system, as independent systems that have members within each country. Because, as I say, I'm not a globalist. I believe culture and diversity and the ability to have your own law within your own country is important. There's different reasons that cultures put different things in place, and culture, look, as I say, there's nothing wrong with diversity. It's division that I don't agree with, and there's been a lot of dividing for a very, very long time. So I just want to bring as many people together as possible and try to get as many endorsements as I can. There's a lot going on in the background that I can't talk too much about, but we are putting together a document that I plan to take with me. And as I meet with each of the elders, I'm hoping to get a signature, a tribal name, a tribe, and a thumbprint on the document. So what I'd anticipate is that it'd be something like the American Declaration of Independence one day down the track. So the idea is to get all the signatures and endorsements directly on that. And then if we can run the referendum, as soon as I've got those endorsements, we actually will have the first lawful system of governance in the country. So, and done the right way. So,
whoever was, quite obviously there was a lot of organising to get the group to Uluru in 2017, and I don't know who managed that or who put that together. But would it be, I would say that some of the elders that you would be speaking to, they would know who it is. Would it be beneficial to find out who head that up and put it together to be able to access, because you're also talking about Western Australia, the Kimberley areas and all those around there, to be able to get in touch with them to let them know actually what is going on. But in saying that, because you know, the Indigenous people do have to come on board. I mean, there's no two way about that, because it is, you know, they're the First Nations people of this country. So the other thing I have concerns about is in relation to, I mean, I don't have a problems with the voting system that you're talking about with the QMS. That's fine. But my concern is when you start to get to that point, and then what do you have to offer to the Australian people? Because it leaves, unless there is something in place to move towards, you're leaving it open up for grabs for, I mean, there's so much chaos going on out there at the moment, unless there's some sort of form of structure, because let's face it, people like some structure, even, you know, even if it's a sense of freedom, but to really need, I feel that we really need something that can give people a foundation to start building on, a framework. And whatever goes into that framework, that's fine. But there needs to be some sort of a framework to kick it off past the, you know, the voting, that no, we don't trust the politicians, but some framework to start them. And I think if you don't have that, you've lost it. Because
well, the QMS actually is the framework. What it is, it's a complete system. So in the proposal that I've put forth, it basically states that there's certain levels. So, for instance, people will propose the policies, but we're not getting rid of public service, we're redesigning them. So the idea is we've got teams and groups of people out there that are basically talking about health, education, taxation, law, lawfulness, you know, different kinds of law. There's, you know, Sequenzi natural law, common law, tribal law. You know, then you've got the Westminster law system, contract law. It just goes on and on and on. And it's just all, it's so confusing to be across the board with all of them. What we need is common language, policy made by the people, where we can understand it simply, where we don't need a lawyer to represent us if we have to appear in court for some issue that we may have caused, where we can use common law rights within or natural law rights within that court and explain our situation. I mean, no person that's hungry should ever go without food. We should all have the simple things in life. You should have a roof over your head, access to warmth and food and connection. Without those things, people become desperate, and that's where crime comes from. That's where we get all our violence from. It's desperation. It's not bad people all the time. There are bad people there, but that usually, when the worst people tend to revolve around lots of money. So, you know, what I'm trying to do is create a system that doesn't need money to operate. It's done on the basis of volunteers. It's done by people who have skin in the game within the policy or the process that they're interested in developing. And they're putting back the best options to all of the people within that realm. So it might be statewide, as I say, it could come down to council or tribal or whatever area. It could be a national thing, to make the decision en masse, and the masses get it without. And I mean, it's not compulsory voting. So if you're not interested, you're not going to care. You're just going to let it run through. If it's a policy that you don't think affects you or doesn't bother you, you're just going to let it happen, whichever way. If it's something that you feel strongly about one way or another, you're going to vote for or against it, because it's going to be there. It's going to be in the news feed, which will put it in the media. And it's the media that people follow what goes on in the media for some reason, and they do what the media tells them. That's the one area where we now will have by referring back to the news feed, we'll have a point where we can cross-reference what the media is trying to feed us and what they're trying to push. So the system is there, and it is proposed. It's transparency. It's a democracy in the form that, and a lot of people don't like the term democracy. I prefer the term a quantumocracy, because it works on the will of the people, and it works on the fact that we operate en masse, and we're operating in an educated fashion. So it's not uneducated democracy like we have now, Westminster style, where everyone's kept stupid and ignorant and don't really know what's going on, and where they're fed through psychological operations, where the media and the large corporate interests are in control of everything, leaving us, the people, going, whoa, what just happened? And we better vote for Liberal or Labor, or we'll vote for one of the small parties, but it's going to end up Liberal or Labor depending on where they decide to put their preferences. To me, it's all a big money spinner, and it's a waste of money having politicians. All they're doing is proposing policy, which they're not going to follow through with anyway. They change it as soon as they're in government, and they might put forth 10 or 20 policies to you that you're interested in 2 or 3, right? At the end of the day, we're better off deciding it all ourselves. And that's where the QMS comes in. People propose the policy in there, they add weight to it, they develop the policy, and they have discussion groups and teams that help to develop it. And as it rises up through there and people gain interest in it, then it goes into the news feed. And once it's in the news feed, that gains more interest. And then it goes to testing and measuring. And it's during the testing and measuring, it's got to hit certain numbers to do that. But that's where we get to see how it's going to affect us and what's in it and what it does and how it affects other policy that already pre-exists. So that is what the concept of the QMS is. We don't need a government. We need governance, and we need a system on which to govern ourselves with. So, and that's what I'm proposing. Without money, people and power, we don't have corruption.
Well, that's true. Okay. Oh, there's more stuff here, but I'll leave someone else if they want to ask a question. Thanks very much for that. That's
No problem there, and thank you for the questions. I appreciate it. So, and look, everyone, I know people question my integrity in this. They question what's in it for me. Freedom, my son's freedom. Well,
yeah.
That's my simple answer. I can't leave this world in the state it is and leave my son here in it. To me, that would be not being a good parent. So I have to fight for what's best for my child. And going into a communist-style totalitarian governance system, which is what appears to be happening, is not what, and I'm talking from what I've seen in history and experience, it's not the best thing for my kid. And to not fight it would leave me complicit in whatever happens to my son down the track. So,
that is very true. My family came from a background of communism under Stalin, so
yeah,
it scares the hell out of me what I'm seeing today. It really does.
I can imagine it would. Look, the fact that we've got Nazi-style paperwork these days, I mean, people demanding a vaccine passport, privileged doctor-patient information, how dare they?
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, this isn't about vaccines. This isn't about that at all, right? I'm about the fact that the government's corrupt across the board. They've been stealing your tax money for years. They've been stealing. They do backroom deals. They're getting rich. These are public servants that drive Mercedes and live in mansions, while the rest of us eke out a living day by day. I mean, I'm
to the converter, Graham.
I'm a tradie. I work hard, but I don't get much out of it.
I've been fighting this for years. I drive my family crazy. So.
Yeah, mine don't like me very much because
I am really interested in because I've been in the healthcare for a long time, and I'm really interested in that side of because I think so many things have to change in there. So I'm moving over to that side, and I'll let you guys take care of this side.
Yeah, well, as I say, and I appreciate you being in there, because it's all about engagement. It's people getting in, having the discussions. That's how we change things. First we talk, then we create. Once we have something good that we can put forward, we bring it forward, show it to the people, and if the people want it en masse, we can make it. It becomes real. Yeah. So that's where I stand with it, and it's just a platform that we've created. You can do that on. So anyway, Chad's got his hand up, so thanks. I'll jump across to Chad and bring him in if he'd like to unmute himself. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Happy New Year, everybody.
And to you, man.
Yeah, it's been an interesting month or two. Been moving like you, Graham.
Not the best time of year for it, is it, mate?
Oh, well, I had 90 days, so I thought it was better to do it before Christmas than to to try and stress after. But anyway, nice to see everyone. Look, a couple of questions that I've just had with you speaking, Graham, was if you're going to step back, who's going to govern the governance?
The people. The people, all of us. Like, you don't need leaders. I'm not doing this to be a leader. I'm doing this to free myself and the country. What
does that look like? Because I'm trying to get it.
What it looks like.
We've got this platform, right? Yep, go.
So the public service still exists, right? So you're still going to have your heads of public service, and initially they're going to be on the same wages, something I don't agree with, and a lot of the same graft will occur. But the beauty is now, rather than having politicians in charge, so day one, nothing changes. Day two, sorry, my son's playing on his Xbox in the backyard, in the background. I really hope he
must be doing well.
Yeah, I think that was a why. So I think somebody might have killed him when they're not meant to. I just hope he doesn't start swearing like he sometimes does, or I'll go and kick him off it. But look, day one, nothing would look any different. But after a week, there'd be that many policies jammed in there and people suggesting things to change. And don't think that people don't know about the graft and corruption that goes on throughout all the different areas. There's some of the first things that are going to be brought to light. And when you've got the forensic investigators in there as well, backing that up and checking through everything and looking through everything that these people, I'll be nice, people have gone through and checking what they've done and the damage they've caused this country and its people. And I mean, it's people of all nationalities and races and colours, right? Because this is a multicultural country. Then once we see what's going on there, and once we see, like, that's going to get reported. That's what's going to be in the news. And you can have politicians being impeached left, right and centre because of what's coming out from all the secret documents. All of a sudden, the people have control of that. Now, yeah, you'll have people in charge of those things, but that's what I'm saying. There'll be people like Ken, Wayne Glue, people who've got skin in the game that have been wanting to do this for a long time. Brian Shaw, Lynn Barnett, these people that have got skin in the game that have wanted to do this for a long time will be the ones, Tim Dwyer would too, putting their hands up to go in there and do the forensic examinations and bring forth the truth. And there'd be many, many others with them. So everything would be vetted and cross-referenced and checked. And we don't want big, what do they call it, Big Daddy or whatever they call it, or Big Brother. We don't want them looking over our shoulder, right? But we need to know that what's going on out there is legitimate. So we, the people, should be private. They should be actually on, showing everything. And that's the problem you have at the moment. The politicians are the ones that are hiding everything while they're looking into our private lives and telling us how to live and what to do and what we can and can't do. And they're tracking us in social media and any other way that they can.
In plain sight.
And quite obviously, and we're letting them. That's my point. Everything works on the will of the people. While we continue to let them, they will get worse and worse and worse. Now, you can't fight them. We're not armed. We don't have that ability, and we're not violent people. We're just people, right? We're average mums and dads, average Joes that just want to change the world and make it a better place for our kids and for our grandchildren and the people of the future. That'll happen. That it just needs the system to change, and in the current system we've got, it's not going to change. It's just going to get worse.
So the system that we could potentially change to is not going to be perfect, right? So we're going to have some flaws that we need to iron out. So, at the end of the day, Graham, I'm a huge supporter and everything. Is there things that we can do now to try and minimise the issues moving forward?
Look,
is there anything else that we can do?
Yeah, look, there are things we can do, but they do cost a lot of money, and I'm not going to fundraise, and I'm not, as I say, integrity is everything with the QMS. Excuse me one sec, I'll be right back. I can hear swearing starting to come close. I'll be right with you. My apologies, 15-year-old gamer in the house. So yeah, we might have to have a word about him gaming while I have my meetings in future. Yeah. So sorry, where were we, Chad?
Oh, just about I guess the safeguards of the policies and procedures that we put into place, the QMS, and how do we self-govern that moving forward? And you know, we're going to make mistakes. So,
and this is what we need to have discussion groups. I foresee that we'd have some sort of public service that would form around it. So I see Ross is leaving. Cheers, Ross. Thanks, mate. I'll catch up with you soon, buddy. So we should have discussion groups around it. But look, I do have ideas around it. Overall, I've tried to keep it as secure as I can, basing it in the document that I've created. And from the point of view that you know, what's completely secure, I don't know that anything can be made 100% secure. There's different ways we can secure up the QMS. You know, there's many different options we can do there. What I'd like to see is I'd like to have it fully rebuilt in the blockchain locally by people that we've vetted and can trust. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a computer programmer. I've been given the application by an American country who we're very privileged to have been given it by in the Democracy Act. The actual web design I've done and the concept I've built through that as best I can. But again, as I said, I'm not a web designer. I've done my best with what I've had, and with limited resources and, you know, a life to live along the way. I think I've cobbled it together pretty well. But what we have at the moment is a concept that I'm presenting. So this is version 1.0. It won't be what the people use in a year or two. I'd certainly like to see it, you know, become more user-friendly. I'd like to see it become more engaging. I'd like to see some of the policies rewritten by the people rather than me doing all the work on it, because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be all for and by the people, not what I've just put together and put out there. And look, what it is I put ideas out there, and that's what I've wanted to do from the start, put things forward. And then hopefully someone who knows more about things will pick it up and move forward with it, because sometimes it just takes a seed, planting that seed to make some pretty big change. And we need some pretty big change pretty quickly. So we can run the referendums. If we ran that referendum, if someone put $15 million in my back pocket, we're 2 weeks away from freedom, because I'd run that referendum. And at the end of 2 weeks, I'll either swing on the end of a treason trial and stand in front of a firing squad, or swing on a rope, or we'll be free. And either way, I'm happy, because I'm not going to stick around in this current environment. I'm not going to let it get worse. I love living, and they've taken away many people's ability to live in the last 2 years, really directly and obviously. And they've been doing it for 50 from what I've seen, and possibly longer.
Oh, it goes back centuries.
So it's a debt slave system. We all know that. We all know what's behind it. We all know the history there. Look, we know the history of Australia too, a lot of that. Although the true history, I'm not sure that, you know, there's a lot of different versions out there. I don't know if anyone really knows that too. But it's worth listening to everything and doing the research and going right into things and asking the people the questions. And one thing I've always seen is people who don't tell the truth eventually show themselves. They show themselves to be who they are. So, I mean, yeah, people say I trust too much, but as I say, if I come from a point of trust, knowing that the liars always expose themselves, then they will, whether or not it hurts me or not. I'll learn a lesson, and I'll learn who they are at some point.
Correct. Yeah, very valid point. Thanks, Graham.
No problems, mate. Were there any other questions, or did anyone else want to chime in on anything? Anything? No, so look, to me, it seems very simple and easy. As I say, but then, you know, I've been doing this for a while and thinking about this for a while, and I'm only one person. I can't tell everyone what to do. That's not who I am. I'm not trying to stand up and say, hey, follow me, I know the way through. I probably do know a way through, but whether or not it's the right way, you know, that's for a lot of people to determine. So I can only put forth what I believe, what I think, what I know. And I mean, we all make mistakes. We've had truths given to us that we've believed are correct, and we've shared them, and found ourselves later on to be not being completely true, because that truth we found out wasn't a truth. And that's happened to everyone at some point, because if you've ever followed anything on the news at any point in your life, you've been conned. So it's just living in integrity. It's actually accepting that sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we, you know, and that's one thing with the QMS too, being direct democracy, being that if we do make a mistake, if we put something in place that doesn't work, we the people can change it very quickly. As soon as we realize it doesn't work, we show how it doesn't work, and bang, we put it forward as a proposal, a new policy to change it, or we rewrite it and put it up. And if enough people know it's not working, it's a quick change. We could be changing policies very quickly, and then we'll get to a stage where, you know, probably after 2 to 5 years, where we're probably not even going to use the system anymore, because once all the things are set in place and once the society's settled down and we all know what the basic, I guess, rules of life for living in this society are, then we won't need, unless new tech comes out, unless something massively changes in society, we probably wouldn't go back to it. You know, and it's only going to be occasionally we might want to finesse something. Someone might have a better idea and say, oh, look, you know, there's that, the input output tax Tim talks about, 3% in, 2% out. Someone might say, look, you know, the country's been generating a lot of money for the last 5 years. We've got a lot of excess stashed away. Let's change that. Let's make it 1 in or 2 in and 1 out or something like that. So that'd be the only time I think that people would want to sort of play with the system once they got the basic groundwork done and the original policies in place. Because within the countries, as I say, it's technology, and I don't know if maybe alien races came here, or, you know, we all of a sudden discovered a brand new resource of some kind, or, you know, all of a sudden could transport ourselves from one side of the planet to the other, or any planet anywhere. That's where we might want to go back to it and implement new policies. But I don't know, it's to me, it's a very simple thing. I see it very easily, and it sort of feels weird trying to bring it forth to everyone. I just wish I could just take it straight out of there and just throw it all out in, I don't know, like some movie or something, or, you know, I tried to write it in the QMS, but in the document, but even that it's a lot of wording and there's a lot of information to absorb. So, but look, if you make everyone a volunteer in it, if someone's thought to be misdirecting it, if you make that the crime of treason against the people, then, and if everything's transparent and presented in a transparent, timely fashion, it holds integrity and there's nothing you can do. And as long as obviously you can't manipulate the voting app, which is why we've put it in the blockchain. But I'd actually, as I said before, I'd like to see the whole thing redesigned, put in a blockchain, and I'd like to actually see it hosted in a simulated quantum environment, just to make it completely hack-proof. So here we go again. But yeah, it's that's what I'd like to see happen. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's early and I'm sort of struggling to sort of fill the time out. So we've got another hour, yeah, just under an hour, 40 minutes or so to go. So if anyone else wants to jump in, and have you got your hand up there, Ken, or is that just part of your picture? No, come on in, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And Happy New Year to everybody.
And to you.
Thank you. I've just been sitting back and listening to all that's been said. And there's a whole lot there that I totally agree with, as I think you well know, Graham, and some of the others. But there's a million, sorry, correct that, there's 5 million questions that come up. Now, that's not to say that they can't be answered and they're irreconcilable, but they need to be addressed. Let me give an explanation. As I think you know, Graham, and I think some of the others know already, I've been doing a lot of work in the background and have been for the last 9 years into human consciousness and natural law. What you may not be familiar with is the fact that I studied objectivist philosophy back in when I was 22 years of age. So for the best part of 45 years, I've been exercising that. So I was familiar with a lot of what that was all about, because that had relationship, some of you don't know, but it's traceable back to Ayn Rand, who wrote the book Atlas Shrugged, which was published in 1957. I read it in 63, and it changed my life completely. And much of what she went on to write about from a philosophical point of view had to do with socialism and communism and all the things that we're facing now, totalitarianism, if you want to put it under the universal umbrella. So that's what we're dealing with now. But I read her work now over 45 years, so I have a long history in what that was all about and the methods that she was suggesting that we used to get around that. And that's part of the reason why I got involved 10 years ago into studying consciousness and natural law. And natural law came about because I couldn't make any sense of common law. And common law came about because I couldn't even make any sense of the fact that we had 2 parliaments and 2 governments and 2 constitutions in Australia, all of which makes no sense at all. So having got to that point, I've done all that study. And just recently, I thought I want to go further. I wanted, because I'd made some effort to contract some of the original people in the country, and it hadn't come to anything. So I thought, let me go further than that. Let me get on the internet and do something that I'm familiar with, and that's a bit of research. So I went digging into the connection to country. I thought that's a good phrase to use as an introduction to find out what the original's relationship to the land is, most particular as it pertains to ownership and transfer of ownership and title. And of course, you can imagine the result that I got. We've got a situation here, we've got original people that have been living in Australia for 40,000 years plus, and Captain Cook comes along, sticks his flag in the sand and says, I own it on behalf of the British Crown. And since then, we put a constitution into place, and all the ownership becomes under the Crown, and the originals are told to bugger off, get out of the road, you don't belong here, you're not wanted, all the rest of it. I have to mind my words, otherwise we'll have the Zoom program crash. But you understand where I'm going. So I went looking at this connection to country, and what I found when I understood better what the Aboriginals, or the originals, let's use the right word, mean by connection to country, could just as easily be translated to connection to mind. Because when you understand how they recognise that they are dependent on the land for their survival, as are we all, if you think about it, and that unless they respect the land, then the land will give up on them and they'll be left destitute in terms of their ability to thrive. So that there's a two-way street here. We respect the land respects us. And that's really what natural law is all about. So when you put those two together, you come to the realisation that what they're talking about in terms of connection to country is really their respect for the land and the country and survival and life. And that's really what natural law is all about. So they're both on the same page. And that gave me a great deal of encouragement, because it came home to me quite forcibly, without having spoken to any of the original people, that I'm on the same wavelength that they are. And so what I'm doing in natural law then is tying in very strongly with what they're attempting to do. And when I watch some of the speeches that they made, I watched one this afternoon with Dylan. Sorry, I've forgotten his last name for the moment, but you know who I mean. And he spoke very much along the same lines that I'm talking now. He didn't use the word natural law, but I understood where he was going with it and what he was saying, that's really what he's talking about. So that brings me to another point, which I think you raised, V, in relation to putting something forward for the Australian people to sort of seize upon and say, hey, this is what I want. And that's where I have a lot of those 5 million questions that come up with what you've said, Graham. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to throw a spanner in the works, because most all of what you say in terms of what you're leaving for your children and where we should be and what should have been all along, instead of this British Crown thing that took over and then later got contaminated with political overreach. And let's not go down that road. We all know what it means. And now it's coming to fruition because fundamentally we allowed it to happen. The writing's been on the wall since the 1900s. We've allowed it to happen. The question is now, what do we do? How do we take it back? And that's where I'm doing all this homework. So I suppose to sort of wrap it up, because I could rant on all night if I chose to. I went to the Stand in the Park meeting this morning and met up with a few had some very interesting conversations there. And with a particular woman, and we got deep into the realms of consciousness, and we were on the same page exactly. But that, again, is one of the things that gives me a great sense of encouragement, because I can see that there are people that they've been caught up in the trap of this indoctrination that we've been fed by churches and government and elders and family and everything that's been going on for centuries. And we haven't been able to see our way outside of that. There doesn't seem to be any alternative but to go back to what we had before. Let's go back to the Constitution. Let's go back to common law. Let's not go back. Let's do what you're talking about, Graham. Let's move forward. Forget about this going back business and let's do something that's brand new. The question is, going back to what you were saying, V, what picture are we going to put forward to people that they can seize on and say, you got me, I'm right on there, mate, you got me. That's beautiful. Unless we put that into place and they can see what it is, then they're left questioning, am I going to vote for this or am I not going to vote for it? Am I going to stay with the Labor and the Liberal and all the traditional parties, or am I going to vote for something which, hey, they told me the vaccine was an experiment as well. This is just a political experiment. Don't really want to get involved in another experiment. No, thanks. I'll go back and vote for Labor or Liberal or whatever. We don't want that to happen. So we've got to give them something and put something in front of them in a sales package which says, look, this is where you've been screwed up. This is the possibilities that you've got. This is the gift given to you by Creator. So you're blessed with it already. You don't have to buy it. It's not going to cost you any money. You haven't got to go to a psychotherapist. It's right there in front of you. All you've got to do is learn how it works. And presto, it's all yours. It was given to you by Creator.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can see something there and get excited about it, encouraged by it, and say, look, in this process of putting this in place, which was given to you by Creator, we get rid of all the scumbags. They're gone. History. And why? Because they chose to spit in Creator's face. It wasn't your choice. They did it. They spat in Creator's face, so they're out. End of story. Gone.
What about the atheists and the agnostics? That's where I'm sort of, you.
Well, yeah, okay. I gave it to you in terms of Creator because a lot of people fall for that. This morning at Stand in the Park, I had 3 religious people standing there. They made quite known that. So I spoke to them in terms of Creator. I could just as easily talk to you in terms of nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my human nature is.
Yep.
Doesn't matter who created it. That's what it is, right? My life is what it is. No mistaking that. The only alternative is death, in which case I have no life. I'm dead. Mm-hmm. So however you phrase it, of course, is an important point, certainly, Graham. But where I'm going with this is that if you can get to that point where you've got something which is a package that you put in front of them, then it's not so much a question of going and saying, do you trust government? But rather, there's every good reason why you shouldn't trust government. Number one, because there ain't one. We don't even have a government in this country. We've got a corporation with no more authority than the head of McDonald's to tell me how to run my life, tell me which place I can go visit and when I can go visit, whether I have to wear a mask or not, etc., etc. So if we can get to the point where we can put a package in front of people that they can seize on and say, hey, yeah, I like that, then they know what they're voting on. And if that gives them the freedoms and rights that they have been looking for and longing for, which a lot of people have, even though they might not readily admit to it, then I think we've got a good chance of success. So to round it all off, if in your travel with your plan, Graham, you get to New South Wales, as you promoted, and you know where I am, I'd like to meet you face to face and give you something and show you the work that I've been doing on a one-to-one meeting, because a lot of it I'm not prepared to put out in the marketplace at the moment, because if those people got wind of it, they could very easily take it down, and I would find myself in not a very nice position. So I've got to be very careful who I show it to. So I'm very, very guarded in that sense. That's not to say that it'll come out eventually, but I don't believe at the moment, in the situation that we've got, particularly in talking about cracking down the new clampdowns in January, that it's the right time to release it. But for certain people, yes, on a one-to-one basis, I'm prepared to show it. So if you'd like to do that and put that on your calendar, I'd certainly like to meet up with you face to face and show you where I'm going, because I think it'll help you better understand what your plan is and how it can be developed.
Ken, I'd love to just come up and shake your hand anyway. I mean, and meet you in person either way. But yes, I'd love to see what you've got there too and spend some time with you. Look, I do plan to come up your way. I plan to visit Penny and some other people up that way on my way through. Chad, if you're around, I'm coming. I plan to go to New South Wales, Brisbane. If I can get into the Northern Territory there and then come back via Canberra.
Yep.
I'd like to be in Canberra for the corroboree. I believe that occurs around, I think it's around the Australia Day weekend. So I'm hoping to be up there by then.
Well, that's one of the points that I'd like to get across to you, Graham, is if I can get you to understand how close my work is to what the original people are really begging for, and a lot of them are, that's exactly where they're at, they're begging for it. Mm-hmm. And so that connection can be made, then I think everybody's position will be strengthened dramatically.
If I can get going, mate, you're always welcome to join me on the journey, and we can present it to them together. And I mean, that invitation's open to anyone who wants to join me if I end up doing this. There are some people down in Victoria that I've spoken to who've said they would be interested in potentially, following in their own vehicles. Whether or not that happens, I don't know yet. It'll come down from my perspective.
My website, I've got a page on my website which is calling for leaders to come forward, because I want to speak to them face to face.
Well, that's what we need. We need to all be leaders, though, and that's my point. The people we've perceived as leaders in the public service that we've elected to manage our country for us have so badly let us down in the past. They've shown.
And we know exactly where they're leading us.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have to follow.
No.
I don't. I never have, and I'm not going to start now. But I'd like to show everyone else how you can do that too. And I guess people like you and I could actually, look, come, if you like, mate, and if you've got the time, come with me. We'll travel together, and I'll have my son with me in my ute. But if you can follow me, you're welcome to follow us and come to the corroboree with us if you like, and meet the people along the way we plan to meet.
As much as I would love to, I can't really do that. My health condition is not
I understand.
robust enough to be able to do that.
No, that's okay. Well, I'll spend some time with you.
I mean, it's not that I can't go and I can't travel. It's more that I can't meet prescribed formulas and timetables. That's the problem.
No, that's all right, mate. I've got ADHD. I'm not very good with timetables myself, but what I need to do, I'm just trying to earn a bit of money at the moment. And if I can get a couple of jobs finished and get some money coming in, and I can get enough of it coming in, then I'll do the trip. And I mean, really, all I'm talking about is I'm going to throw the tent and my son in the car and the dog, and we're going to basically do a drive up that way, and have a couple of changes of clothes in the car, and that'll be pretty much us. And we'll camp where we can camp and stay with friends, and that sort of thing as we go. It'll be pretty inexpensive. So it's not going to take much to do. It's just whether or not I'm having just moved, and I'll be honest, I was evicted from my last place. I haven't had a lot of money come in last year, and I've fallen into the arrears in the rent, and unfortunately the landlords weren't very understanding or forgiving, and so hence I find myself on the 1st of December being told I've got 30 days to move. So it was a bit unexpected. 3-bedroom house, so 15-year-old.
I've been down that road 3 times already.
Yeah, so and being a bit of a hoarder and having a garage full of stuff, I had Magic and Michelle come down and throw out so much stuff. It was unbelievable. But we've been sort of clearing out and tidying up, and I still seem to have an awful lot where I've landed. And I'm very lucky that some people in the movement spoke with Penny and myself, and came to me and said, hey, look, we've got somewhere where you can move to, and they helped me and looked after me in that regard. So I have landed on my feet, and I've been very, very lucky. Every time I went to VCAT, people were like, oh no, what are you going to do? And I don't know, hopefully I'll win the case. Hopefully I can stay on. If not, the universe will provide, and the universe has provided. So this house I'm in now is so much better than the last house. I've been sick for 6 years, and in this house I can actually feel myself getting better. Dust and mold and rubbish in the old house, and it was there way before I moved. I never got sick before, and then 6 years of colds and flus and stomach complaints and all sorts of things. I've and migraines. It's been an interesting slog. So all of a sudden I'm out. I'm feeling fresh, renewed, new year. It's taken a lot of work to do it, but it's also toned me up a little bit in doing it. So all the heavy lifting and moving and sweating. So, I see it all as beneficial. I start this new year in a better frame of mind, in a better position, and in a nice place, surrounded by beautiful friends and family. So
wonderful.
If I can get the finances flowing next, that's the next thing I focus on, and manifest some money in about 2 weeks' time. You'll probably get a phone call from me saying I'm in the area. Can I pop in?
Not a problem. Look forward to it.
No, I'd love to, mate. I'd love to catch up. Chad, you got your hand up, mate. Unmute and come on in. You there? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, got me. So Graham, I know this is a good cause, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to continue working, managing critical and essential services in the world. So I'm happy to put $500 towards your travel plans, mate.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Wow. Thank you. I'm a bit taken back. I'm not quite sure what to do. Part of me says don't accept it but I also appreciate the gesture, and as long as you can afford it, and I will say thank you, and let's do this. So yeah.
I'd rather you got there in 4 weeks' time and not 6 months' time. You know what I mean?
Thank you. No, that would go a long way. Thank you. A very long way to getting us up there. As I say, that'll probably cover most of the trip cost. I don't know what gas is worth up in the other states, but yeah, that'll go a long way towards it. So thank you. That'll help. We'll talk.
Well, it'll cover your costs from. You're still in Victoria, yeah? Yeah. It'll cover your costs to Canberra and back. That's for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. We'll talk outside the meeting. I do really appreciate that.
No problem, mate.
I'm very taken back, and honestly, wow, thank you. Yeah. And honestly, Chad, if think about it overnight, let's talk tomorrow. If you can't afford it, I won't hold you to it. I
can afford it, mate. It's fine.
Wow. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Not everyone's in the same boat, mate, but I work every week, and I'm happy to be able to do that and understand the importance of this. And I can't be involved as much as other people are. And if that's all I can do, then more than happy to do it.
You're always welcome to join me and keep me some company on my travels once I get as far as you.
I can't take the time off, mate.
I understand. Yeah, you need to
but,
make.
If you're passing through, absolutely, we will catch up for sure.
For sure. Yeah, we will. We'll have that beer we've been talking about for a long time. Sounds good. All right.
But yeah, look, give me a call tomorrow, Graham. I'm going to leave everyone. I'd just like to finish by saying we're getting there. We are, and it's great to have everyone's support. It's nice to see the regular faces. And I had a special New Year's Eve where I had 9 others like-minded people who I'd never met before, except for one. And it was special. So we're fighting the good fight. We know the narrative and the bullshit out there. So just keep going, keep moving forward in the right direction.
Cheers, brother. I appreciate it. We'll talk tomorrow. Thank you so much, Chad. I appreciate you coming.
All right, love you all.
You
Take
too.
care, everyone.
See you later.
Night. Bye.
So yeah, look, if everyone else, if there's any other questions, please come in and just ask them directly. Otherwise, we can call an early close to the meeting. I'm really taken back by Chad's offer there. And I'll be honest, I do feel funny accepting it because I self-fund everything. I'm, you know, but I also appreciate it, and I don't want to, I guess, yeah, I just said I'd manifest money, and there it is straight away. So I can't really look a gift horse in the mouth, I guess, too. So, but yeah, if anybody else would like to say anything or has anything they want to talk about or bring up or questions or whatever, I'm happy if you want to take the floor at this stage. And otherwise, we might just call an early end to the meeting and let everyone get back to their Sunday night. Nothing. I love the way I do that. I just, every time I get crickets, and we actually really do have crickets out the window at the moment too. So it's, yeah. Look, thank you all for coming. It is great to see a lot of you back again. And yeah, look, well, it looks like I'm coming, Ken, so get ready. I will be there and we will meet. So I'd love to see what you're doing. I will have a rambunctious 15-year-old who will eat up all your internet while we're there, but if he can. He's not high on the food intake, he's cheap on that, but the internet can get quite expensive. So, but yeah, look, hey, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I haven't stopped working on the QMS. I've had to do a little bit to sort my own thing out. The QMS is still there, it's still ticking away. The biggest problem that I see in the QMS, and I should have mentioned this to Chad before while he was here, and maybe some of you would like to put your heads to it as well, is there really seems to be a lot of people are looking for leadership. A lot of people out there are actually looking for, I guess they're not used to self-determining. They're not used to doing their own thing. And what I'm offering is something that I guess in a way, this is a complete system of self-determination for the entire country. So that's my biggest challenge, is that people seem to be want-led. And really this system's about leading ourselves, and it's about managing ourselves and creating a better situation for everyone. And I can see that people will argue in the system, people won't always agree. That's fine, they don't anyway. But if we can set the tone in there, if we can, you know, if we all look at our own behaviour directly, if we all stand in our truth, and if we all do what we know and believe in, then that will eke out. Integrity has a way of going out. Oh, Penny's coming in just as I'm closing up the meeting, I think. So yeah, hey Pen, how are you? I was actually bringing you in. Oh, there you are.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? I was actually just closing the meeting early because it was just a small one, and we've had quite a good meeting, so you'll get to watch a bit later.
Very good.
You're looking gorgeous tonight. How was your daughter's birthday?
Yeah, well, we just went out for dinner again. We've been out nearly every night, the last 4 nights. So it's been nice to have some time out social. And, you know, my daughter's boyfriend's been staying here. So, yeah, it's nice to get back to normal-ish for a little bit, guys. But we've got to get back into this, hey? Yeah,
it looks like in a couple of weeks I'll be up your way too. So, yeah, hey, Magic's just taking off. Thanks, Magic, for coming in. Thanks for adminning and helping us earlier on, and everything else. So you know what I mean. Yeah, we were just. I was actually closing the meeting up and saying goodbye to everyone. But
okay, that's all right. That's all right. I'll go.
Thank you all for coming in. Thank you, Penny, for coming in even at this late moment. I know you probably made a big effort to get in here too, and I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. We were done. We were done. We're home. So.
Cool.
Hi, Ken. Hi, Graham. Nice to see you.
I think she meant the other Graham.
Yeah, the other Graham Jackson and Cheryl. Okay, I'll let you guys go.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, appreciate you all coming again. And thanks, Ken. And I am coming up your way by the look of things in about 2 weeks, Pen. So
okay,
10 days to 2 weeks, I'd say. So we'll catch up then, and you've got to introduce me to Ken.
I will.
All right, cool. I look forward to it. Love you all. Thank you very much for coming again. And yeah, let's make this happen. It's all there. You just got to do it.
Mm.
See you later.